Hi, everyone. I'm Daniel Roy Greenfeld, and I'm going to talk about composting everything, specifically the topics of why, who, where, what, how, and humans. So why do we compost? Well, for starters, it reduces landfill waste, which is a huge contributor to methane in the atmosphere. So it's good for the environment. It like replenishes the soil, and it means that you can have a productive garden without using like factory fertilizers. So what is composting? It is a breakdown of organic material into soil, which is kind of neat. It's actually really fascinating. So how do you do it? What's involved? So for starters, you need carbon, well, actually just completely carbon, nitrogen, and water. And depending on what you're doing, you need air. In composting parlance, carbon is called browns and nitrogen is called greens. It's not precise, but it's a good measure of how things work. So where can you compost? Everywhere, and everyone can do it. There's certainly things that you can do in your yard, as well as there are things you can do in your house or even a small apartment. So how do you do it? These are 4 of the methods I've tried that I'm going to list today. There's actually quite a few more, but these are my favorites. Trench composting is where if you have a yard, you just dig a trench 12 to 18 inches deep. Deeper if you're going to add meats like animal proteins like meats and bones and fat. Then you put dirt back on top, and within about 21 days, depending on where you are, you will have compost like soil underneath that, like super rich soil with the worms, that then when you plant on top of, you get like really awesome produce. And for reference, these are potato plants that I grew in Southern California, and they flowered, which is really rare for like potatoes. This is my first ever potato crop. And yeah, you can see there's me eating like one of the potatoes I harvested. So it was an awesome experience. Next up, there's bin or pile where you just throw all your yard stuff and kitchen scraps into a bin and you hope it works. That takes like a long time. It takes months. Or if you know what you're doing, if you get enough content in a bin, you can get it like really hot, and in 18 days you have workable soil. And what's awesome about the Berkeley process is, and you can do this inside of a bin or in a pile in your yard, is you can also do it with humans, which is awesome, I guess. Kind of creepy. It's illegal in Colorado, Oregon, and Washington. There's startups that do this. They will take your body, or hopefully you're dead at this point, and they use what's essentially the Berkeley method. They surround you with like hot compost. In theory, they should be chopping you down, but I don't want to go there in this call. So yes, that's how you compost humans and turn yourself into dirt. And then there's the BOKASHI method. BOKASHI is really fascinating because it's not decomposition, it's actually fermentation. It was invented in Korea, God knows when, like decades or centuries ago. It's commercialized in Japan in 1983 and given a Japanese name. And it works with animal proteins. And one thing that's really common is people take their meat and bone scraps and put that into BOKASHI for a month. And then we transfer it over to like other compost methods. And you don't have to worry about like rats or mice or whatever getting into your compost, which is gross. And they can bring in like disease like E. coli. It does require like fermentation. So that's yeast. So it's pretty neat. And here's some of my results. What's been awesome about doing like growing our garden this way is our produce is no fertilizers, no pesticides, except for what's naturally the climate these days. Anyway, our recycling bin takes weeks to fill because we also break down our boxes, or a lot of our boxes, not all of them. There's some specific rules. And our garbage bin usually goes out with the minimum amount of stuff. So that's how my quick talk on composting everything, including humans.
Wow, that was incredible. You had 42 more seconds. You could have talked more about the human part, I think.
Can I talk a little bit about humans? So there are actually startups that are doing this. They did studies with like universities to make sure that it was on the up and up. I'm guessing that you have to pay for it because I don't know if it's profitable to like sell bodies. It's really creepy. I'm not sure I'm up for this personally when I leave this wonderful world, but I'm considering it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Daniel.